Let me tell you something honest. Your entire life can change because of a few simple habits. Not magic, not luck, not some secret nobody told you about. Habits. I'm not talking about those massive overnight transformations people brag about online. I'm talking about small, consistent daily actions that quietly turn your ordinary days into extraordinary results. Because the truth is, success doesn't come in explosions. It comes in repetitions. I used to wait for that one big break, that one lucky moment that would change everything. I kept saying, when the time is right, I'll start. But here's the reality. There is no right time. Life doesn't hand you opportunities wrapped in gold. It gives you choices disguised as discipline. The people who win aren't the ones waiting for motivation. They're the ones who create momentum even on the days they don't feel like it. You might be sitting here thinking, it can't be that simple, but it is. But the problem is, simple isn't easy. Waking up early isn't hard, but doing it every day builds power. Saying no to distractions isn't complicated, but it demands control. Showing up when you don't feel ready, that's where the real transformation begins. When I finally understood this, everything changed. My focus, my mindset, my energy, all of it started shifting. It wasn't some huge event. It was the small things I kept repeating until they became a part of me. You see, discipline doesn't shout, it whispers. It shows up quietly every morning when no one's watching. It asks, will you do what you said you'd do, even when nobody's clapping, and your answer decides your future? The funny thing is, most people already know what they should be doing. They know they should wake up earlier, read more, work on themselves, take care of their body, cut out distractions. But knowing isn't the problem, doing is. That's where habits come in. Because habits don't ask for motivation, they just demand repetition. Once something becomes part of who you are, you no longer have to fight yourself to do it. I didn't change my life overnight. I changed my mornings, my mindset, and my priorities, and that changed my life. When I started focusing on who I was becoming rather than what I wanted to get, things began to move faster. The world doesn't respond to wishful thinking. It responds to consistent action. Every day you either build a habit or break one. Every day you either step forward into growth or slide back into comfort. And maybe that's where you are right now. Caught between who you are and who you know you could be. You feel that gap. You know there's more inside you, and there is. But nothing will change until you decide to change your habits. Because when your habits improve, your mindset sharpens. When your mindset sharpens, your focus strengthens. And when your focus strengthens, your life transforms. Piece by piece, day by day. So if you're ready, not just to listen, but to act, then stay with me, because I'm going to share with you the 3 habits that completely changed my life. Habits that took me from drifting to disciplined, from distracted to driven, from wishing to working. They're not complicated, they're not glamorous, but they are powerful. And if you apply them, not just hear them, I promise, we'll see change faster than you ever thought possible. The biggest change in my life didn't come from luck, motivation, or waiting for the right time. It came from small, consistent habits that looked ordinary on the outside, but created extraordinary results over time. I used to think success was about big leaps, about sudden breakthroughs, about getting noticed, about finally finding that perfect moment when everything would fall into place. But that perfect moment never came. What came instead were ordinary days filled with choices. Each one asking me a simple question. Will you stay the same or will you build something better? That was the turning point. Realizing that growth isn't something that happens to you. It's something you build one habit at a time. The more I focused on the little things I could control, the more I started to see massive shifts in my mindset and my energy. It wasn't instant. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, steady, and real. Every morning I would wake up with the same thoughts, that voice in my head telling me to rest a little longer, scroll a little more, delay one more task. But I started to fight back. I started to replace comfort with commitment. I started asking, will this move me closer to who I want to become? That one shift in perspective changed everything. Suddenly, every small choice became a building block for something greater. The first habit that changed everything was deciding to start my day with intention. No phone, no noise, no rush, just me, my thoughts, and my goals. I learned to take 5 minutes to write down what I needed to do and why it mattered. It wasn't just a to-do list. It was a focus list. That small act taught my brain to prioritize purpose over distraction. And when you start your day with direction, you stop living reactively. You begin to take charge of your time instead of letting the day control you. The second habit was keeping promises to myself. We all talk about discipline like it's this huge mountain to climb, but discipline is simply doing what you said you'd do, even when you don't feel like it. Every time I kept a promise to myself, finishing a workout, completing a task, saying no to distractions, my confidence grew. I stopped breaking trust with myself, and that's when things started to shift. Confidence isn't about feeling unstoppable. It's about proving to yourself that you can be consistent. Then came the hardest part, cutting off the noise. I realized how much energy I was wasting caring about opinions, comparisons, expectations that didn't belong to me. I used to scroll through social media, watching other people's success, wondering why I wasn't there yet. But the moment I turned my attention inward, I began to feel lighter. I wasn't running anyone else's race anymore. I was building my own. It's strange how much power we give to the small things. The same small habits that hold us back. Procrastination, excuses, negative self-talk can be replaced with habits that build us up. Focus, gratitude, self-discipline. You don't need a new life plan. You need a new routine. You don't need motivation. You need consistency. Motivation comes and goes, but habits keep you moving when motivation disappears. As weeks passed, I began to notice the difference. My mornings felt sharper. My thoughts were clearer. I didn't rely on external validation anymore. I was driven by the progress I could feel. Small wins became addictive. Not because they were massive accomplishments, but because they reminded me that I was moving. And movement, no matter how small, is everything. That's the hidden truth about change. It never comes from the outside. It's born in those quiet moments when no one's watching, when it's just you against your excuses. You start realizing that success isn't some mystical destination. It's a rhythm you build through repetition. The person who shows up every day, even without results, will always outgrow the one who waits for the perfect condition. So no, it wasn't luck. It wasn't motivation. It wasn't waiting for the universe to send me a sign. It was habits. Tiny, invisible, disciplined actions that built the version of me I had always dreamed of becoming. And once you understand that power, you stop looking for change and you start creating it. One small, deliberate step at a time. The first change was realizing that success isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing the right things consistently, even when no one's watching. I used to believe perfection was the standard. I thought that every step had to be flawless. Every plan had to be complete, and every action had to look impressive before I could call it progress. But perfection became a trap. I spent more time planning than doing, more time worrying about mistakes than learning from them. The truth hit me one day. Perfection was just another form of procrastination. It was fear wearing a mask. When I shifted my mindset from perfection to progress, everything changed. I stopped waiting for the perfect day, the perfect plan, or the perfect version of myself to start. I began to show up as I was, imperfect, but willing. And that willingness to begin, even when it wasn't pretty, became the fuel for growth. Every small action started to build momentum, and that momentum became confidence. Consistency became my secret weapon. Doing the right things over and over, even when nobody noticed, taught me more than any burst of motivation ever could. There were days when nothing seemed to move, when effort felt wasted and results looked invisible. But I kept going. Because deep down, I understood something most people overlook. Consistency doesn't always show immediate results, but it never fails to produce long-term transformation. I started showing up for myself even when no one else saw it. There were no claps, no praise, no recognition, just me, the work, and the quiet. But in that quiet, something powerful grew, self-respect. When you follow through with your actions, even in silence, you build a trust with yourself that no external validation can match. You begin to believe in your ability to make things happen, not because someone told you you're capable, but because you proved it to yourself through repetition. And let's be honest. Consistency isn't glamorous, it's repetitive, it's boring, It's hard. It doesn't give you instant gratification. It's about doing the same workout when no one's watching, writing the same notes when you don't feel inspired, showing up for work with the same effort, even when you're tired. Even when you're tired. It's about doing it, not because it's exciting, better. Every time you choose consistency over comfort, you take control of your direction. I realize that perfection demands everything, but gives nothing. Consistency demands effort, but gives results. The more I focused on daily improvement, just being 1% better each day, the faster my results began to multiply. It wasn't because I suddenly worked harder. It was because I stopped restarting. Every time you chase perfection, you reset your progress. But when you choose consistency, you build upon what you did yesterday. You stack progress one layer at a time until it becomes impossible to ignore. I learned to embrace mistakes instead of fearing them. Mistakes became signs that I was moving forward, not failing. Perfection had taught me to stop when things went wrong. But consistency taught me to adjust and continue. That shift made all the difference. Life doesn't reward perfect effort. It rewards persistent effort. Eventually, I noticed something incredible. The habits I once forced myself to do became automatic. The things that once drained me started to feel natural. That's the power of consistency. It turns effort into identity. You no longer have to convince yourself to act. It becomes who you are. And when that happens, you become unstoppable. So I stopped trying to be perfect and I started trying to be consistent. Because the truth is, success doesn't belong to the one who gets it right every time. It belongs to the one who refuses to quit, the one who keeps showing up when it's not convenient, the one who builds silently when nobody's clapping. That's where real growth happens. Not in perfection, but in persistence. And the second was cutting out distractions, not just the ones on my phone, but the mental ones that kept me from growing. I realized distractions weren't just notifications or social media. They were the invisible things I allowed to steal my focus. They were the unnecessary conversations, the endless scrolling, the need to prove myself to people who didn't even matter. They were the thoughts that whispered, "You're not ready yet," every time I tried to take a step forward. Those distractions weren't just wasting my time. They were wasting my potential. I used to wake up every day and instantly hand over my attention to the world. Before I even had a chance to think about my goals, my mind was already full of noise. Messages, opinions, expectations. I didn't realize that the more attention I gave to everything outside me, the less energy I had to build what was inside me. Focus isn't just about saying yes to what matters. It's about saying no to everything that doesn't. And that was the hardest lesson to learn. That growth requires isolation. So, I started protecting my time like it was gold. I began setting boundaries, not because I wanted to cut people off, but because I wanted to connect deeper with myself. I stopped replying to every message instantly. I stopped giving my energy to drama and negativity. I stopped explaining my goals to people who didn't have the vision to see them. The more I did that, the clearer my mind became. Silence, once uncomfortable, became sacred. In that silence, I found peace. And in that peace, I found power. Cutting out distractions wasn't easy. It meant learning to be alone with my thoughts. It meant facing the discomfort I had been running from, the doubt, the fear, the uncertainty. But I discovered that clarity doesn't come from adding more. It comes from removing what doesn't belong. Once I stopped letting everything and everyone pull me in different directions, I finally started to see where I wanted to go. Focus, I learned, isn't a skill. It's a choice. Can't be fully focused on your future if you're constantly reacting to everything in your present. The moment I made that decision, everything shifted. I started working with intention, not just motion. I stopped confusing being busy with being productive. I realized how much time I had been wasting doing things that didn't actually move me closer to my goals. The truth is, most of us don't lack time. We lack focus. We spend hours chasing distractions disguised as opportunities, trying to do everything instead of mastering the few things that truly matter.